Hey guys, in our recent videos we were working on tetrachords and running up and down the neck, naming the notes, and also moving from one tetrachord on one string to a tetrachord on the other a fifth above. This presumes, of course, that you know what fifths look like on the guitar and that you can use those when you're moving around the neck. Let's in fact double back a little bit, work on some fretboard knowledge and memorization, and look at our fifths and fourths and octaves and how these would work to help you. When you learn a few patterns, you can quickly calculate what the next note on the guitar neck is going to be. This is a little bit limiting. What we really want to do is have them all memorized so you can just look at a fret and you can go, well, there's a D and there's an E and there's an E and an F sharp and an E here and an E here, and just see them when you look at the fretboard. But of course, on your way there, you're going to have to use some strategies to get there. Intervals will help us, scales will help us, knowing our key signatures, anything like that that you can quickly calculate. If you know there's a C here, you know there's a D there. You may not spot the D, but if you spotted the C, you can find the D from there. That is a bit of a translation process. It's like knowing a second language but having to translate the words back into your own language. And when you reach a real fluency, you don't do that. You know what the words mean intuitively. We want that level on the guitar as well, but you have to get there. Also, it's like reading your notes. When you first learn the notes on the staff, you might use a strategy like every good boy deserves fudge to tell you the notes on the lines. When you do that enough, you no longer use it. You'll spot the B right in the middle or the F on top. That's how we want to get with the guitar. Go through some strategies that will help you build up your fretboard knowledge, but you'll also be able to use at times where you draw a blank. One of the first ones I love to use is the 1-4-5. Hopefully you've played enough chords and you've worked on your primary chords enough, then you would know a bunch of your 1-4-5s. G, C, and D is a 1-4-5. On the D, it's D, G, and A. On A, D, and E. Several of them will be really comfortable to you after a while. Some won't be. You should be practicing learning those too. Of course, you can always apply the songs you already know to help you remember what your primary chords are. Here at the 3rd fret, I've written our G. The C is right above it. It's the 4. There's a factoid you need to know. 4s are generally right above roots, because our guitar is tuned in fourths. If we have open E and open A, that's a fourth apart. So that would be F to B flat, it's fourth. F sharp to B, it's fourth. G to C, it's fourth. When you learn power chord songs, we learn that pattern. G's and C's. When I teach songs with power chords, I teach them telling people, well, here's a 3rd fret note on this low string and a 3rd fret note on the 5th string. But I insist, you need to know that not only was this song a 3 and then a 3 on the other string, it's a G and then a C. Whenever you're learning a song or a scale or a pattern, take that extra step to learn exactly what's happening there. Use everything you learn to learn the fretboard or to learn your theory. Apply one piece of information to inform the other. So we know that G's and C's are a string apart. That's a 1 and a 4. We also know 5s are necessary, 1-4-5. Well, a 5 is going to be 2 frets higher than a 4. So 1-4-5s are these L's. A 5 is a string and 2 frets over, as you know from your power chords. So you may not necessarily know that this is a D, but with very, very quick calculations, G, C, add to C a D, you can figure it out. So use what you do know to build up what you don't know yet. G, C, D, G, C, D. Now memorize that. G, C, D. Visualize it and tell yourself what you're looking at. C's above the G. D's at, D's on the 5th fret with the dot. G, C, D. There's a D. Memorize it, visualize it. G, C, D. Okay, 3rd fret, 5th. All right. Utilizing that as we did with our tetrachords, once you're on D, how about do a 1-4-5 from there? D, I don't remember. D, E, F, G. G's the 4, so there's a 4, a G right there. D to G, D to G, and what's higher than G? An A. D, G, A, D, G, A, D, G, A. A is at the dot. G's at the 5th fret, okay. G, C, D, D, G, A, G, C, D, D, G, A. Can you go backwards? A, G, D, D, C, G. There's a G and a D and an A. A G and a D and a C and a G. Try to see them as you're doing them. Notice that I'm getting kind of a weird little look at our guitar here as I move up. I'm not learning exactly one position or one fret. We've done that before, of course. We've learned the 5th fret. A, D, G, C, E, and A. Going back down, of course. A, E, C, G, D, and A. We've learned that. We've learned the 7th. But this is just another strategy, using something you really know well, the 1, 4, 5. You could play power chords as you learn it. G, C, D, C, G, C, D. I'll do the same thing now on this D. D, G, A, G, D, G, A. From this A, D, and E. A, D, E, A, D, E on the dots. 7th fret, 9. G, C, D, D, G, A, D, E. Then E, A, and B. The E to A, the 4th, doesn't look like all the others because we have a 2nd string shift. The 2nd string's tuned in 3rds, not 4ths. So if we went up exactly across, we'd only get to a 3rd above the E. Very good to know, but right now we want the 4th. So we're doing a 2nd string shift, moving up 1 fret to the A. So there's another A and A. E, A, B. Now we could go a little further if we wanted, but I'm going to leave that little pattern there for now. What you should feel is you're burning mental energy as you're doing this. G, C, D, I get that. Now I need the 4 of D. Okay, that's it. That's G and A. The 4 of D is G and then A. A to D is the 4 to E. E, A, B, E, A, B, A, D, E. That should be hard, and that's great. That's what you want. You want to tire your brain out a little bit. It's only through those little struggles that you're actually learning anything. You're physically changing your brain. You're rewiring it. You're strengthening and speeding up different neuropathways. You're strengthening connections between regions of the brain. So it should hurt. It should be a little bit tiring. Once you can go up, try coming back down. Sometimes you'll do this really well. Sometimes you'll have to really unwind things in reverse. So I've gone G, C, D, D, G, A, D, E, E, A, B. Come back down. Okay, so right before the B was the A, D, and that was the E. B, A, E, which is the 5th, when D is the 4, in the key of A, which is the 5th, when G was the 4, in D, C, G. It may feel just like that, and it may be a struggle, but the second time it's easier. And do make sure you're doing that. Repeat them over and over. Stop and memorize what you've done already. You can actually quit looking at this, quit even playing them, and just spot them. There's a G and a C and a D and a G and an A and a D and an E and an A and a B and a D and an E. You can stop and look at them in your mind's eye. The D and G were at the 5th fret with the dot. Move up to the 7th fret on the 4th string and I got an A, and then on the 3rd string's a D. A and D, the 1, 4 at the 7th fret. Then the D to the E on that string was 7 to 9. We did the stagger. Ah yes, the 2nd string shift from E to A. So it's a 9th to a 10th fret on that little angle, and the B is at the 12th fret. Of course it is. It's a double dot. It's the octave of the open B string. All of those strategies should be put into play. One other thing you'll find is we have inverses. If G goes up an L to D to find its 5th, and D goes straight up to G, then G is the 4th of D right above it, when D is the 5th of G on an angle. Or the D is under the G right below it. A 4th up and a 5th down are the same. D to G, going to the 4th of D, you can go backward down the L. Use that kind of information to learn what your inverses are. An inverse, a 1 up to a 5, is the same as going from a 4 up to a 1. Or going from then that 5 up to a 1 is the same as going a 1 up to its 4. Now I can see where my G's are. G and G. Okay, just like a 5th is up a string and over 2 frets, the octave is up 2 strings, 2 frets. That's where G's are. If I find one D, 2 frets, 2 strings higher is the other D. How about with this A? not working, of course, second string shift. So 2 strings up, but 3 frets over. So now I can find my octaves. I can find a couple of G's and say what they are. G, D, A, E. G, D, A, E, A, D, G. So I can do it with D as I just did. D at the 5th fret, 2 frets up, 2 strings up at this D, 2 strings up, 3 frets up to the 10th fret D, 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 D. Memorize them. You can work them out with our pattern, but also once you found them, memorize a few of these. And then you can look at some other Ds. That D has a paired D on the bottom string because the 2 strings are the same, they're both E strings. Then this one has a D up an octave. So I've got D's here, 10th fret, 12, 10. 5 frets back from 12 on the next string is a D at the 7, which pairs with this one. And 5 frets back, well, okay, 4 frets back because the second string shift. D back on the second string to this D. So we have D's in this section. We have D's up here. Oops, a little sloppy there. So I'd recommend you put those ideas into action. Memorize your 1-4-5s. Use the fretboard to help you memorize them. Use your memory of 1-4-5s to analyze your fretboard. Use your patterns of octaves to find out where different notes are. Memorize them by looking, and then utilize that information to find out how to locate octaves. Every piece of information that you learn should be rolled into the next one. These are spirals of knowledge that you're working on all the time. That means there's no random information. Always try to apply it. Whatever you learn, think about how that is going to impact whatever else you know. Alright guys, take her easy. See if that'll help you out. Talk to you later.